I've never ever experienced a riot situation like that in my whole life. It was just, it was frightening. It really, in fact, you know what, I'm not even scared to say I was genuinely scared. You know, all the training in the world could never prepare you for what, or for me at that point, couldn't prepare me for what we went through and what, you know, what we're seeing. I just went from bad to worse to worse to worse. Sorry, excuse me. Yeah, you know, I just burst into tears all the time. I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't understand it. I had this overwhelming feeling. I just wanted to kill myself. I just wanted to die. That's all I wanted to do. I didn't care about my wife. I didn't care about my kids. I just wanted to die. God, that's getting me. Yeah, and that was, yeah, that was, sorry.
Take your time.
Yeah, that was a big thing for me. You know, that was the defining moment when I knew that everything I was doing was worthwhile. Ever since that day, up to now, up to me sitting here talking to you now, everything has been positive. Everything that I do now is in a positive step, and it has been from that day.
There's one man watching this, one man who is struggling with his mental health issues, one man who's too afraid to tell his partner, children, anyone. Look down the barrel of the camera and talk to him. What's your message? So you were 16 when you joined the military, and you were 18 when you were posted as a soldier to Northern Ireland. Paint a picture for me of your time in Northern Ireland, the things that you saw, the things that you heard, the type of things that you experienced.
You know, so when, so being sort of, I mean, I'd always wanted to be in the military. I always had this sort of, this romantic vision of sort of me being in the military for, you know, the whole of my career, and retiring at an early age, and then coming out and then sort of puttering on in the garden, you know, at the age of 40, you know, and everything. But yeah, so I had this sort of romantic vision, went all the way through training. And one of the things that sort of spoke about, I mean, obviously Afghanistan and Iraq weren't sort of, they weren't sort of going off then. So the big thing was sort of Northern Ireland. And we heard sort of horror stories of people being shot and bombs going off, and you know, the different sort of paramilitary groups and stuff. So, you know, being sort of 16, 17, sort of coming up to 18, ready to be deployed out to Northern Ireland, it was sort of, it was scary, but it was sort of, you know, I was quite excited. It was my first sort of proper tour. So we got out to, so went out to Northern Ireland when we were 19, sort of drum Cree, so we went over the marching season. So, you know, the orange marches, the orange marches. So we were on Dungannon Bridge, and sort of in between, you know, the Catholics and the Protestants. Now, before the actual sort of march day, you know, we do sort of street patrols and stuff like that, and it was very, very bizarre because, you know, it's part of the UK, you know, but you go down one street and everyone was sort of, you know, everyone was really friendly, really, really nice, and, you know, and they were happy to see you. And then you'd literally go around a corner onto another street, and it was just hatred. You could feel the tension, you could feel the hatred for us being there. You know, that you had sort of kids throwing stones at you, you know, people sort of spitting at you as you walk past, and I just couldn't get my head around it. You know, just sort of thinking, you know, well, you know, this is part of the UK, and being sort of treated like celebrities on one street, and then literally 100 yards around the corner, you know, you've got people, you know, you wouldn't sort of treat a dog in the way that, you know, that we were sort of treated. So yeah, so it was really, really quite bizarre.
And what were the types of things that you saw going on over there?
So I mean, there was a number of riots while we were over there, you know. So we were going down, and then, you know, there was petrol bombs coming over. They were sort of setting fire to different things, and they were coming over as you know, as missiles coming over, you know, and then literally fighting with us, you know, literally fighting with us. You know, there was cars on fire. You know, it was the RUC then, so the Royal Ulster Constabulary at that point, so the RUC. And like I say, they were fighting with their own people as well. And it was just, yeah, it was just, I mean, just looking at sort of the just explosions here, there, and everywhere. Where petrol bombs are hitting walls or hitting cars. There's people sort of running all over. They've got blood and stuff on their face. It was genuinely it was like a war zone.
You're reflecting on this now, and you're able to see that. But when you're in that, and when you go to bed at night through that, are you reflecting on the day, or is it all just part of the job and you keep going?
At the time when I was there, I think the adrenaline pulls you through all that, so you don't really think about it because you're not really getting a lot of sleep anyway because of, the fact that you're, the fact that, you go out and do a patrol, you come back, you get fed and watered, then you might have to do sort of guard duty in the sangars. And then, like I say, then you're going back up. So you're constantly sort of, you're constantly on high alert, if you like. There's always sort of mortar warnings coming over. The fact that that the base could get mortar attacked at any time. So you're constantly on high alert. I think for me, the bit that sort of really frightened me, and I've used this expression a few times. I felt like a bit of a boy in a man's world. To be fair, was when we went for the actual orange, when we went for the Orange March. The Catholics and the Protestants. And we were sort of stuck in the middle of them. That I've never ever experienced a riot situation like that in my whole life. It was frightening. It was really, in fact, I'm not even scared to say I was genuinely scared. All the training in the world could never prepare you for what, or for me at that point, couldn't prepare me for what we went through and what we're seeing. So we were, so basically how it works is you've got what's called a baseline. So you've got like the big metal containers, like the shipment containers. You've got one of them that's full of concrete. Then you've got four soldiers, an armored vehicle, another 4 soldiers, and then another one of these containers on the other side of the road. And it acts as like a big sort of barrier, so that the guys, so the Protestants or the Catholics, which way you're looking, can't get through. So I was stood with my 6-foot shield and the armadillo shield, and I was up against the crowd control officer called this big sort of container. And all of a sudden, I said, it was like slow motion. All of a sudden, I could see this petrol bomb coming over just slowly, and it smashed off the container. I was doused in petrol. I went up in flames. And at this point, I'm 18-year-old. I'm sort of fresh out, not quite fresh out of training, but I hadn't been out of training that long. It was my first tour, and then my first sort of riot, I suppose, like real riot. And yeah, it was terrifying. So it sounds horrendous. I didn't obviously, I haven't got scars or anything on my face. I've got a few on my shoulders and stuff like that. But yeah,
how severe was the fire?
At the time, because the flames, so it was my top half that was on fire, and because obviously where the glass bottle had hit the metal container and smashed off, it was obviously the top half. I can still see it now, even when I think about it now. I opened my eyes because, like I said, I seen it coming, and then all I seen was just like flames in front of my eyes. So obviously I panicked. Now what you're not supposed to do is you're not supposed to panic, because you've got guys. So this is a regular occurrence. This happens a lot. Guys getting set on fire and stuff. With the petrol bombs. And the idea is that you've got people behind you ready armed with fire extinguishers to come and put you out. So the idea is you get set on fire, you just carry on doing your job, you carry on doing what you're supposed to be doing, and they put you out. And you just trust that them guys are going to come and put you out, which obviously they did. But again, 18-year-old, first time in the baseline, first time in a real riot situation, and I panicked a bit.
And at that time, you're sort of asking these questions now, and I'm sure you've done so much work into yourself to ask these questions and look back on. But even at that time, do you just keep continuing going forward? You've got no time to think about what's happened. What happens in the days and the weeks after something like that fire?
Yeah, so you do get debriefs. You do get debriefs after situations. Certainly with that one, I got, I had to be sort of taken back to the med centre, just to sort of deal with like the, they were just superficial burns really. But I had to I had to get them sorted. Then I was flown back to. Yes, I was. Was it that point? I was flown back to the UK because, like I say, my nose was like over here somewhere. Like I had sort of black eyes, and where I'd been sort of pulled into the crowd and stamped on. There was like problems with my ribs and whatever else. So I got flown back to the UK, just to sort of go and get checked over properly at the hospital.
What are those checks? Is there any mental checks?
No, not back then. No, not really back then. It's not. I mean, the idea, that's the idea of the debriefs. The debriefs are your way of sort of saying, I suppose offloading what you've just seen. But again, it's just a case of, right, everyone okay? Yeah. Everyone's safe and sound. Yeah. So it wasn't how it should be. I mean, I work in mental health now. I work with people who struggle with mental health from the forces. And it's not until you start speaking to them and you speak to them properly and you get them to open up and actually engage in what they've seen and what they've witnessed, what they've been through, what they've experienced themselves, or that you really sort of start breaking those walls, them barriers down.
And something else that you experienced as well was when you were put on exercise in Gibraltar. Share with me what you feel comfortable enough in sharing with what happened there.
Yeah, do you know what? So I suppose for anyone watching now, it's that's going to see this video. I think this is something that is quite hard. I think for people to talk about. Now, I always used to say it's quite hard for a man to talk about, but actually, do you know, it's equally as traumatic for women. Of course, it is. But basically, what happened was we were out in Gibraltar on an exercise, and I was on a night out with some friends, some of the lads I work with, and they went home. I then made my way home after that, and I was jumped and raped by 3 men on the way home. I have to talk about it like that, where it sounds a bit sort of matter of fact, and it's a bit, I'm a bit blasé about it because that's just my way of. I think it's my way of sort of talking about it, I suppose, so to almost make it sound like it wasn't a big traumatic event in my life. It definitely was, and to be honest with you, that was the unraveling of my military career. So that happened.
Why did you feel that you couldn't tell anyone after it?
Because I was Tommy Lowther. I was this big infantry soldier. I was. It's this facade you've got to put on. It's just sort of it's this mask you've got to put on us. Nothing can break me. Nothing can hurt me. No one can damage me because I'm this sort of universal soldier, if you like. And it's and that's what gets sort of taught. That's what you get taught when you're in training. That whatever you're going through, you head down, you carry on, you get on with the job in hand. And kind of, that was kind of sort of the attitude that I adopted, once it had happened. And then, I mean, from there, I consider myself, I was a good soldier. I was a good soldier. But I just started going downhill from there. I was turning up to parade, and all my clothes, obviously, I mean, it's a well-known thing in the military, that we're always sort of well pressed and everything like that. Boots are always shiny, and I was just turning up, and I just looked a mess, really. I was turning up. My clothes weren't ironed properly. I couldn't be bothered really sort of tidying my boots up like they should have been doing. I was getting myself into sort of trouble fighting, and on the weekend drinking a lot.
Were you becoming angry?
Well, really, really angry. Yeah, I was. So I mean, when we come back from Gibraltar, back to the mainland, UK, I kind of I didn't tell anyone. I mean, at that point, I certainly had no intention of telling anyone. This was something that I very much had to keep to myself and deal with myself. So I thought, you know what, put it at the back of my mind and just not think about it. So that's what I did. That's what I did for months. And then, like I say, I was just going downhill. I mean, at this point, we're back in Dreghorn Barracks up in Edinburgh, and I just started going downhill massively. You know, I was just like I said, drinking. I was fighting, and then I got called at the office by my superiors, and they sort of said, "Look, you know, what's going on?" And I told them, and I've got to be sort of. Yeah, I like to sort of try and be careful about what I say, because I don't want to sort of get anyone else into trouble as such. But essentially, it was just a case of they didn't believe me. Well, I'll put it that way. They didn't believe what was being said. Had to go for tests, obviously, to prove that it had happened, and obviously that it was sort of proven that it had happened. I'm not going to go into details about how that happens. I'm quite sure people can sort of understand that. So that was with the medical officer. And yeah, and then, you know, so went home on annual leave. Well, not on annual leave, sorry. Went home on compassionate leave, and just over the time, you know, I sort of kept going back in, going back to work, and then coming back out, you know, and in the end, I literally just got a letter through saying, you know, as of the date of you received this letter, you're no longer in the military. You know.
And yeah. What grounds was that on?
Well, I mean, it goes down as medical. It went down as medical. Yeah. You know, like almost sort of like mentally unable to sort of carry on my duty.
It must have been hard at the time, because you left your military career, you're leaving your colleagues, your friends, the lads, everything that you've known. And I know that, you know, it's around 13 years or so that you tried to build your life back up in some way, and you got into the Met Police for a few years. But all that time, you had no idea that you were living with PTSD. You went undiagnosed, but you're dealing with all of these issues. You're dealing with the fallout from the military. What's your mind like through those years?
Do you know what? So it's so I've always been sort of known as a bit of a. I was always known as maybe a bit of a fighter, a bit of a wrong, and you know, people sort of didn't really want to. I didn't have respect of people. You know, they maybe sort of. I thought for a lot of years it was respect, but it wasn't. It was just, you know, people just didn't want to get on the wrong side of me, I suppose. And for years and years, you know, I must have just been, I don't want to swear, but like, you know, I must have just been this horrible person. And from the outside looking in now, you know, I can see exactly why people would definitely think that. But yeah, for me, you know, it was just so I turned to drugs, started taking cocaine regularly. Like I say, I was going out, I was fighting, I was getting arrested. You know, it was just horrendous, you know. And I mean, that was sort of that was just before my breakdown. But the whole time, you know, like I said, so I mean, certainly in the police as well. You know, I've probably seen just as much, if not worse, stuff in the police. I mean, I was on duty the day that the bombings went off in London. You know, so I was sort of involved in all that. You know, there was another one where we were first on scene. A little girl, she was only 6. Sorry, excuse me. She was crushed by a car, and we were first on scene. Excuse me. So we were first on scene, and I was working on this little girl. I knew she was dead. You know, I knew she was dead. But obviously, I'm not a doctor. That's not my call to make. So, and yeah. So I mean, obviously, the little girl died, and we had to sort of deliver the death message to mum and dad and stuff. And that's really stuck with me. That's really of everything that's gone on. You know, even, you know, what happened in Gibraltar, what happened in Ireland, and everything like that. I've kind of got my head around that. Kind of got me. I was in a situation that I couldn't control. But when you're on top of someone trying to save their life and doing the CPR and, you know, and the compressions and stuff like that, you've almost got an element of control in the fact that, you know, that you've got the skills there to be able to sort of keep this person alive. And it didn't. I mean, I think she was dead by the time we got there. But it was hard. It was really hard. And that's the one thing, of everything that's really sort of stuck with me. And that's the one thing that chokes me up still now. So for years and years, I've gone through these things and thought about them, and they've been in the back of my mind, and I haven't really sort of dealt with them by this point.
And what's that like for you, Tommy? Because you've got all of these experiences that are happening. So from the outside, the picture is experience after experience after experience. He's getting angrier. He's turning to drugs. He's turning to alcohol. He's not the same man he used to be. But what's it like, and what does it feel like on the inside?
Yeah, I think the thing is, every time you get arrested, every time you had a fight, every time you stuck a line of coke up your nose, you knew. I wasn't devoid of what was right and wrong. I was devoid of feeling. I wasn't devoid of knowing what was right and wrong. I knew what I was doing was wrong. But I just didn't care. I just didn't care. I didn't care. I didn't really. I mean, I suppose I can say now, that I didn't have any respect for my wife or my kids. I mean, towards sort of the actual breakdown. I mean, I loved them, but I didn't care. I didn't really care what happened to me. But if I went to prison, it was one of the things. If I got, you just don't think about it. You just don't think about it. When you're filling yourself full of drink and fighting with police officers and everything like that, you just don't really think about it. Now I'm deeply embarrassed about the way that I went on. Now, when I say I'm embarrassed, it's been a long journey for me to sort of forgive myself. Other people don't forgive you. Because I think one of the worst sayings in the world that I hear is people saying that a leopard can't change its spot. It definitely can. And so yeah, it was something that every weekend it was happening every weekend. And sort of and leading up to the breakdown. Yeah, I was just horrible. I wasn't a nice human being at all.
Tell me about the breakdown.
So there was I worked for a pharmaceutical company, GlaxoSmithKline. I don't know if I'm allowed to mention the name, but I worked for a pharmaceutical company, and I was on my way to work one night. I was going for a night shift, and just for no reason. So where I live, it's really sort of there's sort of like there's high drop-offs and stuff like that, on the side of the road, and I just got this really, really strong and really overwhelming feeling. I wanted to put my car over the edge, and I don't know why. I couldn't understand it. I had no reason. I had no feelings for this before. I just had this really, really strong feeling. I come over really emotional. I burst into tears, and literally everything just went bang, just like that. I got to work. I mean, obviously, I didn't put my car over, but I genuinely had to fight with myself not to do it. And I got to work. I was in the car park, and I was just in floods of tears. And then my boss come up. One of my bosses come up. He said, "What's wrong?" I said, I don't know. I said, I told him about, this overwhelming feeling. And naively, he said, "Well, look, take yourself home in your car again." But he did. He said, "Look, you need to go home." And do you know what? Just the next month, a few months maybe even, I just went from bad to worse to worse to worse. Sorry, excuse me. I just burst into tears all the time. I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't understand it. I had this overwhelming feeling. I just wanted to kill myself. I just wanted to die. That's all I wanted to do. I didn't care about my wife. I didn't care about my kids. I just wanted to die. My wife, she worked for the same company. She was having to take time off work. She was literally locking me in the house. When she had to go out, she was literally locking me in the house. I was going out even more so now, taking more drugs, drinking more alcohol, getting into more fights, getting arrested more and more, and it all just come to a head. And my poor wife, what that poor woman went through, when I was certainly at my worst. I was going into work, and I was sort of, say I was on an early shift, starting at 6 a.m. I'd go out the night before, get absolutely blotto, pie-eyed drunk, off me bloody face on drugs. And I was going to work the next day, you know, having had a fight that previous night, and sort of going to work, you know, my jeans were still filthy with mud, you know, and still had, you know, like a ripped t-shirt on, and I stunk of alcohol. And you know what? When the pharmaceutical company I was working for, they in the end they had no choice. They had to get rid of me. So my line manager at the time, he was like, he obviously recognised there was something not right. Obviously, you know, I mean, you know, this wasn't what we deemed to be normal behaviour at all by any stretch. So he knew that I'd been in the military. He told me to go and speak with Help for Heroes. And I went to Help for Heroes, and I got some psychological help from them. I mean, they were amazing. Honestly, they were absolutely amazing. And I remember going to speak to them, and then they put me on a course called the Pathfinder course. And it does what it says on the tin. It helps you find a pathway in life again. You know, it makes you rethink what it is you want to do going forward, you know, sort of job-wise or mentally, you know, how do you want to sort of, how do you want to get better? So we went on the path. Sorry?
Were you resistant to ask for that help?
Yeah, I suppose I was, because at that point you don't recognize it in yourself. You don't really recognize in yourself that you're this horrible person. You know, you think the whole world's just got a problem with you. And actually what it is, no, it was me. 100% it was me. I didn't recognize that at the time, and it took a long time for me to recognize that. So yeah, I mean, we went and did the Pathfinder course with Help for Heroes, and on the very, very first day of the course, we sat in there with I think there was about 12 of us. And what they say is, we want to know about you. We want to know a little bit about you and why it is that you're sat here now. And I was going to sit there and say, hi, my name's Tommy. I just, you know, I've sort of not been very well lately, and I need some help. That was my intention. That was what I was going to say. And a very, very good friend of mine, he's a very good friend of mine now. He went before me, and he opened his mouth, let his belly run, and everything come out. And I was like, oh no, I've got to follow this. I've now got to sort of follow this. So I did, and I told them everything. I told them every single thing, and that was the first time ever in my life that I'd ever done it.
How did that feel?
The only way I can say it is, I know it's a bit of a cliche, but you know, it's having that weight lifted off your shoulders. I've never felt so relieved. I've never had that feeling of relief and that in my whole entire life. You know, to just sort of come out, and everyone in the room was like, okay, we weren't expecting that much to come out. But that night I went back to my room, because it was like a 3 or 4 day course. And I went to my room that night, and honestly, I had panic attack after panic attack after panic attack all night long. First time I'd ever encountered a panic attack. Thought I was dying. Genuinely thought I was having a heart attack. But I didn't want to bother the staff, because you've got like one of the orange pull cords, the emergency pull cords. There was one of them next to my bed, and I didn't want to bother anyone. So I went through this all night, just panic attack after panic attack. And it got to the point. Well, I got up the next morning. I'd had about maybe half an hour, 45 minutes sleep all night. I was absolutely dog tired, shattered. Went back to the class, and honestly, that was the first day. That was the first day there. That second day was the first day that's when my recovery started, without a shadow of a doubt. Because ever since that day, up to me sitting here talking to you now, everything has been positive. Everything that I do now is in a positive step, and it has been from that day. So, you know, people talk about real life heroes, you know, and stuff like that. But you know what? And some people look at sort of professional footballers or film stars, or you know, but actually my heroes that day were definitely the guys that I was on the course with. I can film, so it's starting well up. Yeah. So and actually the guy that went before me, because if he hadn't have opened his mouth and spoken so openly like he did, I wouldn't have done it. I would never have done it. So like I said, so I've got a lot to thank him for, and like I said, we are very good friends.
And as one of the biggest barriers to opening up and sharing your story in that way is the fear of being judged. But how false was that fear once you did it?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, mental health as a whole is, that it's getting better. People understand it more, and I think the word is accepting. Actually, I think people are sort of starting to accept that it is a real thing, and it's not just someone who says that, a cry for help, as we hear constantly, or telling people just to man up. That doesn't work. It doesn't work. The fact that I've got people now who I can talk to. I mean, one of the best bits of advice I was ever given was, get rid of anyone. Get rid of anyone that that's not bringing any value. It's a value exchange. Life's all about a value exchange now. So I'm always about, if you're bringing me value and I bring you value, then actually that's something that's worth looking at. A friendship is worth looking at. But if it's a one-way stream, yes, let's be friends, but I'll keep you on the peripheral. I don't need you in that tight-knit circle. So like I say, and I live my life every single day about that now. Every single day.
Your organisation that you started, Sport and Force, that was in 2015. What's the work that you do with that?
So again, that was off the back of the Pathfinder course that I did. So one of the things that we had a chap come in to talk to us about an organisation that he runs called Mission Motorsport. Fantastic charity, and basically they help like wounded soldiers getting back into work through the automobile industry. And I was talking to them, and they were talking to me, and they were saying, "Look, what is it you want to do?" And I thought, what, honestly, I think I could do something like that. I think I could get soldiers into the sports industry, professional football, professional cricket, tennis, rugby, whatever it might be. And so we went down the route. So I started off from there, started speaking to everyone, knocking on people's door, annoying people because I won't take no for an answer. And if you are going to tell me no, you better have a good reason why you say no. And just over the last sort of 7, 8 years, whatever it is now, it's just grown from strength to strength. So we've got access to every football club in the country, from the Premier League, the Championship, League One, League Two, professional rugby clubs, cricket clubs, everything like that. We help on average, probably. I mean, certainly not with the COVID at the minute, but we help on average about 5,000 to 6,000 veterans a year. And their families, getting them into work or into job placements, or just sort of reducing social isolation and getting the guys out. We recognise when people are sort of struggling with mental health, and we help them out there. So it's been a hell of a journey. It's been a hell of a journey since 2015. But we're now in a position where we're doing good. We really are. And actually,
how does it feel for you to give back in that way? Does it make you feel good?
You know what? One of the best feelings I've ever had. So I mean, like I said, I've had the highest highs and I've had the lowest lows. Doing this job. Certainly the lowest lows, everything. That led me up to why I started the charity. And everything like that. Obviously with everything that happened prehistorically. And there was one thing where we had a guy who was really, really keen to get involved with us. We were going to like a big football match, but he'd been stuck in the house for so long. Obviously, ex-soldier, and he'd been stuck in the house for so long that he now did not feel comfortable coming out. But it was really, really, really wanting to come to this football match. So he phoned me on the morning. He was like, "Look, Tom, I'm really sorry, I can't make it." I said, "Well, look, let's see how close we can get to the stadium." I said, "Put your shoes on, put your jacket on, and walk out your house and shut the door." He's like, "Why?" I said, "Just do it." So he did it. I said, "Right." I said, "Walk to the end of your garden." So he walked to the end of the garden. Now, when the gate clicked behind him, he had a bit of a wobble, but he had a panic. But actually, what we did is we did incremental steps. He come to the game. He had an amazing day. He then went on to went to college. Went and did like an access course. Went to university. Went and did physiotherapy course, and he's now a physiotherapist. And that's what he does full time now. And I got a letter for his son. His son was only 5 at the time, and his son, it was just a letter that said, "Thank you for giving me the dad back." God, that's getting me. Yeah, and that was, that was. Sorry.
Take your time.
Yeah, that was a big thing for me. That was the defining moment when I knew that everything I was doing was worthwhile.
Mhm. What about your own children? Are you a better dad because you reached out for help?
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt. You know what I mean? I am now at the point, where I've got a great relationship with my kids. I've got a great, fantastic relationship with my wife. My wife and the kids, unbeknownst to me at the time, were completely my rock. And if it wasn't for them, chances are I wouldn't be here. If it wasn't for help heroes, I wouldn't be here. But yeah, the fact that I've got them now, and I'm completely open about it,
Mhm.
because I do still struggle. I do still struggle. I was sorry, I forgot to mention, but when I had the breakdown, I went and got psychological help, and I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder.
Mhm.
Now, it's very common, with PTSD that it doesn't manifest itself into something until sort of 10, 15, maybe even 20 years down the line. It does take that long. And actually, when I got my diagnosis, it gave me that opportunity to think, actually, do you know what? There is a reason now why I was the way I was. I wasn't just a horrible person. I wasn't just angry for no reason. I wasn't just, there was a genuine reason behind why I was acting, why I was the person that I was. So that was a big defining moment for me. And like I said, and even now, every now and then, don't get me wrong, I do. I sort of go downhill, and I'll have bad days and or bad weeks, sorry. And it can hang around for a week or 2 weeks. But I want my kids to understand that when dad's like that, it's nothing they've done. It's nothing, they haven't done anything wrong to put me in that state, and it's nothing, it's not their fault, and I will be fine.
Mhm.
So yeah, so it's yeah. I'm in a bloody good place now. So
Good. Finally, I'll end on this, Tommy. You're in a good place now, but there'll be lads and men and boys watching this who aren't. You've done enough talking to me. Don't talk to me anymore. Look down your camera lens. There's one man watching this, one man who is struggling with his mental health issues, one man who's too afraid to tell his partner, children, anyone. Look down the barrel of the camera and talk to him. What's your message?
I think for me, not speaking to Rory anymore, speaking to certainly to the viewers. You need to reach out. You need to go and get that help. You never mind this whole thing of man up. It doesn't work. I tell you now, it doesn't work. There's never sort of been a truer cliche said that that a problem shared is a problem halved, and that genuinely is true. I urge you now to go and go and speak to someone, speak to a friend, speak to a doctor, speak to whoever it is, and just reach out and get that help. Now, again, I'm more than happy if you want to. I'm more than happy for you. If you need sort of help and you want to sort of find out a little bit about it, about mental health and everything like that, I'm more than happy for you to sort of contact me. I might live to regret that, but yeah, I'm more than happy for people to contact me. Mental health is real. It isn't going away. And when you get to that point, there are ways out. You do not have to go certainly down the route of suicide. You don't have to suffer in silence. There are loads of organisations out there that will help you out. Certainly for the soldiers, and soon the blue light services for your police, your ambulance, and everything like that. Please get in contact with Sporting Force. We can help you guys out. For the civilian guys out there, look, you know what? There's organisations out there. There's hundreds and hundreds of organisations out there. Please, please, please go and get that help, and never think you by yourself, because problem shared is a problem halved.
Cheers, Tommy.
No, thank you, man.